to GULAG Films. I'm Michael Kingsbury, the writer-director of 3 GULAG feature films. In this video, I'll be discussing the GULAG Magadan feature film, and this is the second video of my commentary on that film. And let's have a look at it now.
Я выросла в 30 градусов ниже нуля.
Если бы это знали, как прекрасно это мир. Заберите меня из этого ада вместе.
These two actors are 100% Russian, and they grew up speaking Russian. One character is very strong and can make it through, and the other character is losing her mind, disassociating from reality. To me, it was very important when I made this film to have actual Russian actors on the set with their lines to give the texture of the Russian people speaking in Russian with subtitles. Many of my films, nearly every one, has the authentic Russians speaking Russian or Belarusian or Latvian with subtitles. Let's continue to watch it here.
If their motive was to scare us, then
why not care what we had done?
they don't care if the West finds out.
No.
Take, for example, Holodomor.
Yes, Holodomor.
Holodomor. Word you don't hear often in Soviet media.
Never do.
10 million people killed in Holodomor.
Yes, in silence.
Even in West. Silence.
That is clue.
This scene is critical because it's showing how we as dissidents who have the minds to question authority and to think differently, how very often we need one another to further understand the larger scope of state authoritarian power. In the case of these two dissidents, they are beginning to question, and that's the beginning of understanding of why they were put in a gulag, of why once they smuggled the Kurganov papers to the West, why they just weren't shot. And we begin to sense that there is something more in these dissidents than just their deeds, that smuggling the Kurganov documents to the USA, which was essentially an ally of the USSR, was futile and immaterial, and it wouldn't make any difference. And so why were they in the Gulag? And the reason why was because of what was inside of them, their ability to think and question. And that was a threat to the Soviet state, that they could influence other people to begin to think and question as well. And so, and we're getting to the main reasons of why dissidents are put in the Gulag. It's not for specific crimes, it's for their souls and what they're capable of as human beings in enlightening their fellow man.
Just like your GRU didn't care about the dogs.
No. They didn't care. So it's something else in us they wanted to keep separated from Soviet society.
Yes, we had something in us.
But what?
I don't know.
Are your brothers. You do not exist as individuals. Only
I used to write reports on all these bastards.
Mass grave gets larger every year.
What's interesting in my Gulag films is that I actually used real sledgehammers that heavy, made out of steel and wood, so that the actors would appear to be actually wielding sledgehammers. It exhausts them, it tires them out, they breathe harder. And this is already being filmed at 6 to 8,000 feet. This particular scene we had to lower it to 6,500 feet because the previous day scene was just very difficult. We had altitude sickness, a loss of performance, and we had very cold feet. And so I was up all night trying to figure out, looking at satellite photographs of where on this particular road at Mount Pinos that would have the coverage that we needed of snow and hillside in terms of the topology and where we could park the vehicles. I mean, all of these logistics. And I came up with a new site and emailed everybody that it was going to be an easier day. And I had the team back on board and held the production together. And we shot at a lower elevation right here. Nevertheless, these are not props. If these were plastic prop, I couldn't afford renting these plastic sledgehammer props are too expensive. It's cheaper to actually buy the sledgehammer, but it is very tough on the actors to wield a heavy sledgehammer and perform at 6,500 feet in the snow on a hillside. So I have great respect for the actors in this film to make it as real as possible, because when we pan down and we see the details of the boots and the sledgehammers hitting the ground, that texture, the detail of the sledgehammer going into the soil, going into the snow is irreplaceable. You can't CGI that or computer graphics that very easily or very cost effectively. So it was essential that they actually had heavy sledgehammers.
Я могу слушать их. Я чувствую, что они могут услышать нас.
Have you heard from your son?
I haven't heard from him in 2 years.
This is a critical scene because Larissa is talking about her son and pulling out a photograph and looking at a photo of her son, who was put in a Malocheki gulag camp, a gulag camp for children, for kids. What the Marxists did in the USSR was they would declare an entire family enemy of the state, and they would put the children and the kids of the dissidents into gulag extermination camps. And this is not known by the vast majority of people. It's not taught that the USSR had gulag camps for the children of dissidents in which those kids were exterminated. And the entire families were wiped out and exterminated. They were called enemies of the state. And there's no movies on this, so this is a critical scene I wanted to include.
He's in Malotetki Gulag extermination camp.
Успокойся. Коммунисты не достанут нас. Я такая же сильная, как эти деревья вокруг нас.
Выглядит глубоко.
You were getting a cat doctor.
It is a About time.
I'm getting injured, Larissa.
Persevere.
I'm trying.
Are they still raping you?
Yes. Like every weekend when the vodka comes.
When I was younger, they raped me too. I know what you're going through.
This is an early cut of the film. There actually is no tree here. It's moved to a transition point.
Oh God. I think I'm going to kill myself.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
And another thing I'd like to talk about right now in terms of indie film production or independent film production with a zero budget is when you're shooting outside like this, it's tough to arrange the lighting because in the winter the sun is moving mostly laterally, and when you have a vertical forest, you have the shadows sweeping horizontally across your scene or your setup and your blocking, and you can set up the shot with two of the lead actors in the sunlight or however you want it in the shadow, and by the time you're on halfway through the take or maybe take two, you're going to have a totally different lighting aesthetic setup, and you have to shoot, you have to roll, you cannot reset and wait. We don't have another day, and that's independent film. Is you make the film, you do the scenes regardless of what environmental conditions are presented.
I can't go on. It's all too much.
Yeah, and about the details, the textural details of the characters, of the coughing, shivering, shaking, all of these other details, I would make a list for the actors to rehearse and to drill of all of these character traits of a sick gulag dissident who's been in the camps for a long time, not a healthy actor who's come out from LA for the day. So you have to prompt them sometimes to go through the body movements, the stamping of the feet to keep it warm. You have to recreate the sickness and perform and have the actors perform through the other layer of acting sick, acting like a gulag inmate. And they did great. They did great. It's very tough conditions. Sometimes I'd give an instruction while we're shooting and edit it out afterwards that, cough. And so they cough. That wraps up the second director commentary on the GULAG Magadan film. It's a serious subject about the genocide of 65 million people. And if you approve of this film, you can hit the like button or subscribe to this channel and help try to spread the word about this genocide of white people, Europeans, in the Marxist USSR. And thank you very much for listening and watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.